Great. Thank you, Margot. So welcome to everybody, and really thank you for taking time just to allow us to go through a short presentation about the whitewater lodges. I'm sure most of you already use our camps, but I think there's been a lot of things happening between here and the time BC, before COVID. So especially on access of some of the camps. So and what is happening up there in the region with the borders and all the transboundary crossing issues and COVID testing and PCR, we know all of that nightmare. Yeah, so just allow me to talk about Wild Waters. Wild Waters, it's a family business. It started everything more than 12 years ago with Nkasa Lupala Lodge. It was a destination that as a family, we always went to see and visited as tourists, the Zambezi region, the Caprivi Strip. And then it became more than that. It became a business. It was an opportunity. We took it and we built our first camp that was Nkasa Lupala Lodge. Nowadays, we have 3 camps and 1 rest camp. And you can see the heart beating behind Wild Waters. It's the family there. That's my family with the new arrival. You can see the proper Italian. He has a little pizza in his mouth. And these are my boys up here. And yeah, what really we like to portray in our camps is that family feeling. When you are at one of our lodges, you feel like you're at home and you're with friends. And that's been all through these years. And I think it's one of the main strengths of our camp. Really small camps, and maximum of 10 rooms is the biggest one. It's in Nkasa Lupala. And that nowadays, it does make a difference, I think, with your clients when they come and visit us. There's a map that shows where the camps are located. So you will see in Nkasa Lupala National Park, that was previously known as Mamili. We have Nkasa Lupala Lodge. You might see the difference between Nkasa Lupala and Nkasa Rupara. It's a long story there. The park was called Mamili before, then it became officially Lupala, Nkasa Lupala, and then after a community petition, it was changed again to Rupara because the historical name was actually Rupara. But when we opened the camp, the official name was Lupala, so we kept it Lupala, not to change all the documents. You know how it's a nightmare to go back to all that bureaucracy. So after Nkasa Lupala in 2010, we opened Jackalberry down in the park. It's a concession. It's only a 4-room camp in the park. I'll get to more details on the camp later. And then we took over the community campsite and we called it Rupara Rest Camp. We have 2 self-catering and 7 camping sites. That's on the northern boundary of the park. And then the latest addition to the Wild Waters group, it's Serondela Lodge. It's based on the Chobe Zambezi floodplain. It's on a beautiful sighting spot where you really get a beautiful sighting of wildlife there. It's on the Chobe River, and I'm going to explain better how to access there and how to get there. We are in a crucial region. It's really, you know, the heart of the Kavango Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Park. And it's a getaway in and out from Namibia, from iconic places like the Victoria Falls and Kasane, the Chobe Park. And really good access and income and outgo for clients now, that with the addition of the flights of Lufthansa from Victoria Falls. So crucial, and that's why it's very important to understand how these borders works and what's the best way to go around it and to move in the region to kind of explore a bit more. Unlike the past, this region is becoming a destination. You know, before in the previous years, it was a one-stop on the way to the falls or one stop on the way to Kasane. I think now the region has really much more to offer. And maybe today, you know, we're going to try to show why. I was saying about access. The main point of entry to the region is in Goma border. Your Zambian Katima Molilo border, it's not ideal due to the very, very bad condition of the road from Katima to Kazangula. But I have information that that's going to be resurfaced in really in the next year or 2. They're going to start working on that, which is a good plus because Livingston has also a lot to offer. Lately, the visas to Zambia have been cut in half. So some of your travelers would enjoy more choosing Livingston rather than Victoria Falls, just for simple reason of better cost entry in the country. And then access to international airport is Kasane and Victoria Falls, of course, and Livingston. Katima, 3 times a week flights, 2 from Windhoek. And there is more probably coming up, but that's where I will leave that to Fly Namibia. They're working on that, so we're not gonna give new information. Let's see what happens. We still a lot of things happening there, but there might be some good news coming up for the region up there. I did mention the Nkasa region and the fact that we are really in the center of the heart of the Nkasa area. This is a Transfrontier Conservation Park. It's a big project. It's trying to mitigate coexistence between wildlife and communities and activities like big towns, even like Victoria Falls. Really a lot of good operations going up here, conservation, wildlife corridors, and other type of activities, mainly supported by the European countries, Germany leading that. It's really a good vision, what's behind this park. And I think guests do enjoy a lot to know about this story. So when you sell the region, it will be really nice to try to talk about that too, because there's a lot of interesting facts behind there that one can mention. The Zambezi region, and the Zambezi region, unlikely the other regions of Namibia, is really something different. It's what we call the green region of Namibia, wetlands. We have wonderful landscape here, and seasonally good abundant rains, and therefore we can really have wonderful landscapes all around the region. 4 rivers bounding the region. This is a big plus, because the big advantage of the Zambezi region is that you can get landscapes, and you can get scenarios where you might think you are in the Delta or somewhere deep in Botswana, while instead you are really in Namibia at a more affordable access, more affordable price, and keep everything in one country, and makes it easier for selling, for organizing, and ultimately also for all the payments and everything is all done on the Namibian side. Nkasa Lupala, this is where my wife and I started almost 12 years ago, I think now, 11, 12 years ago. It was a bit of a crazy thing we did. We came from different industries. She's a lawyer, I'm a designer, but we traveled, we had passion for traveling. I grew up in the bush, so it was just naturally what we did. We just did it with passion, and I think it transpired all through these years, and up to now, Nkasa is one of really is doing very well, and we are really happy about that. It's a joint venture with the community, meaning that we did sign at the time a contract with neighboring conservancy. We have commitments with all of our lodges to employ from the local community, empower, and to there is a fee that we share per client staying at the lodge, and that we call conservation fee. You might see it in our new rates, 2022, 2023. We have the conservation fee, and it's something that was always there, but was never highlighted. We always kept it in a normal structure fee, but we think it's important to show, because each and everyone can then realize how much goes back to the communities. And it's a lot at the end of the year. When we talk about 2,000-3,000 guests staying at the camp, one can make an easy calculation how much commitment and how much contribution we do to the communities, besides all the normal social responsibility activities that we do at the camp. In Nkasa, it has 10 rooms. It is a tented camp. I think it's really important to know that it's deep in the bush. It's far away from any noise or pollution, light pollution, which now it is a problem in most of the areas, conservation areas, because communities, of course, are growing in numbers, which is not that the problem, but the problem is that what not our guests want. So all our camps really are isolated and deep in the bush, which makes it really a wild and unique experience. And Nkasa is absolutely one of them. Access to Nkasa Lupala, it's quite straightforward and easy. It's an hour, 15 minutes from Katima Mulilo, and it's all tarmac, and only the last 15 kilometers is a 4x4 road. I think in the past, when there was a lot of rain, 2011, 12, We had big access problem there. That was unusual rains, and but lately the road is fine, and any normal 4x4, even the famous dusters that were traveling around Namibia in the last years, they could get there. So all good. But it's always nice that we always gave the information to our to the guests, the tour operators, to call beforehand, just to make sure, especially in the rainy season, what are the latest conditions, and if there is any problem, we go and meet our guests at Sangwali. We can organize and we can make sure that guests can be transported from Katima. We do have a transfer company in Katima that can help, and that a service that we can add on what we do already. What I want to say about Nkasa Lupala, it's really on the boundary of the park. Wildlife sighting is amazing. It's a different park from any other park, I would say, of Namibia, because it's really a wetland park. It's what they call the Little Okavango. If one looks at the Kwando that comes down from Angola, it makes a sharp 90-degree turn, and that's exactly because there is a geological fault, and that's actually the same geological fault that about 100 kilometers further southwest, it will create the Okavango Delta. So similar geological formation and similar landscape. We do have seasonal flooding of the park, and makes it really special and quite unique for Namibia. And that's what always it's the big attraction down there. This picture highlights the commitment that we have with our communities and the way we operate sustainably. We were lucky enough to win some Responsible Tourism Award, and we still really commit to that vision to really try to work with our communities and make them feel part and participant of tourism. That's the only way that we can really try to involve them in conservation too, and they really see the big advantage of it. I particularly like this picture because it's a lion, and it's a lion rainy season. But the main idea that I wanted to show here is the fact that we have the biggest population of lions in the whole Zambezi region, and this because of really good programs of conservation. Lions, before the camp was set up, they were really creating a lot of problems with the communities. And then with the help of NGOs, we set it up some what we call the wildlife credits, where communities are rewarded if the wildlife is not killed, and then we set up these kraal systems where cattle are kept safely, and this in few years really doubled and tripled the population of lions. So it's really a big success, conservation success, that I like always to talk about, because it's something that it makes us proud and also makes our guests really happy, because there's nothing like a beautiful sighting of a lion. That's why they come down here. Jackalberry camp is only 4 rooms. It's a bit more exclusive, of course, because it's a smaller camp. It's deep in the park on a lagoon, as you can see on the top picture there. That's one of the tents. It's really little jewel, and for many reasons, it never really picked up, and that's why today maybe I would like to try to sell it a bit better. Jackalberry camp was born with the idea of making a luxury self-catering, and because it was only 4 rooms, and we thought, it's not going to work as a lodge. It's not going to make enough profit. The costs are going to be so much of maintaining the camp with the whole, with the whole setup of the staff. Let's make it a luxury self-catering. But more and more people were visiting the camp, and they really wanted to be catered. They were asking to be catered. So, we said, okay, let's do it a lodge, and then it became a lodge. But during that whole operation, that marketing operation, that's where it created a lot of confusion. Still nowadays, a lot of operators do think that the Jackalberry, it's a luxury self-catering. It's not anymore. It is a camp full on, catered with all the staff available, and really trying to do their best down there. And it's a beautiful location. It's down on the Linyanti River. For those who know the wilderness camps, Kingspool, it's 1.5 kilometers east of Kingspool, just to give you an idea of the spectacular area that (15 kilometers south from Nkasa Lupala. But again, transfers can be arranged, and once guests are there, they really enjoy it a lot. We've been going through a lot of refurbishment and how revamping of the camp. because in the years, as I said, it was adapted for one purpose, and then we took a bit of time for us to reset and readapt everything. I think now today we can say it's really a lodge, and with all all the facilities and all the needs of a lodge. There was a problem in the past. We didn't have Wi-Fi there, and as much as we like it or not, but that's one of the biggest requirements. Even that has been introduced. A pool is been now introduced since 2 years. So I think it's really ready to welcome any guest down there. I was talking about the access, and it's just south of Nkasa Lupala, and one has to get into the park entrance and cross in and drive another 13 kilometers. But as I said, we can assist with this with our guides and our vehicles, and guests cannot get lost in the lodge. Although it's a national park, so it's not really that they get lost. They do a game drive on their way into the camp. It is subject to the area to seasonal floodings, but because we are on an island, the access of and the camp is always above water. So actually that makes it again even more spectacular. Let me go now on the Chobe side. This is like a common sightings down here where I'm actually talking from. It's the Namibian side of the Chobe. People are not. Most of the tour operators do know very well Kasane, do know very well the Chobe Park, but they know that on the other side of the park, there is a spectacular opportunities for their guests to really have an exclusive experience. And the main reason is that, like Serondela, we are 17 kilometers west of Kasane, so we are not in that traffic of boats and cars that you see. In what while visiting that area, and that's one of the main critics that unfortunately the Chobe is having in the last years is a bit over touristic, a bit what they call over tourism, and I think Serondela, it's again it has to be explained where it is and what really can one of the guests see there. Let me try to get a map to show where Serondela is. I think one can see on the right Kasane, on the extreme left you see Ngoma. We are really in the middle of the park. If you see there where Serondela is, and we are facing the shores of the river and then the national park, meaning that there is a sighting at any time of the day. We were blessed in the last 4 days. We had lions. There was an elephant who died probably of anthrax somewhere there. And all the guests that were here for the last 4 or 5 days, I think it's 4 days, they actually saw every day and afternoon and night lions coming down to drink and up and down and down. So this is really common that it can happen here. And that's where the ultimate experience for your guests will be, is the fact that yes, they will be at the lodge, but they don't need to get out on a game drive, on a boat cruise necessarily to see wildlife. They can be sitting on the veranda of their room, or be sitting at the main area and just enjoy the whole day sightings. And this is the biggest difference between your accommodation on the Kasane side or other accommodations on the river, not so lucky with being in a lucky spot like Serondela is. Okay, that's the picture I was looking for. If you see, we are on an island. If you see that map from Google Earth, we are on an island there. And just in front of us is that famous Serondela area, very famous for buffaloes and lions. And it makes it a bit tricky for access coming to Serondela, but actually that's also the spectacular part, because most of the time of the year, you can only get here by boat. And we can do that from the Namibian side. Like during this time of COVID, we could do this from the Namibian side, turning off 12 kilometers before Ngoma, driving on a normal gravel road, and then we could pick up from Nakabolewa, and it's a beautiful 1.5 hour cruise all along the wildest part of the river. There's no one there. There's no boat whatsoever. Probably 1 or 2 mokoros or a bit more at times of the local fishermen, but that's it. And that makes the access to the lodge spectacular. Alternatively, and that's what we prefer, to be honest, it's access from Kasane. So the access from Kasane, it's at the immigration port, and then one can leave safely their car parked there, and then we pick up our guests. It is also a spectacular cruise because we do it at 2 o'clock, and the reason why we do that at 2 o'clock, it's because we avoid what I call the Chobe Armada, the Chobe boat vessels that at 3 o'clock they start their PM cruise, and it's quite busy on the river there. So when we leave at 2 o'clock, there's no one on the river. They're all still getting ready to depart for their cruises, and it's beautiful. So they happen to see the best part also on the eastern side of the Chobe, passing the Namibian island like Sedudu, and then Kasika, and then towards Chobe Game Lodge. We pass Savannah Lodge, and then we get to Serondela. It's like 2.5, 3 kilometers after Savannah Lodge. Really, really spectacular location. As you can see, this is one of the typical pictures of Serondela during the dry times. This probably is going to be September, and amazing, a lot of wildlife, and just there in front of your deck. Serondela, it's located facing south, so we don't have a big problem with the sun and the heat. We don't have a lot of trees around the camp. Let me try to see if I can find a picture of the camp. There it is. And there we have a tree, and reason why, because all the elephants actually come in the dry season around us and never allow those trees to grow. But we are now protecting some, so we can have a bit of shade. But the fact that we are facing south, we build all our camp with particular way of construction that actually helps a lot in the heat reduction. It's really you know, it's not as bad as it looked. One would say, wow, it's going to be cooking down there because of no shade and no trees around. But actually, the way we constructed the camp, we use sandbags and plastered them. We have a double layer roof, and all of those systems do allow us to actually try to mitigate the problem of heat in the area, which it's of course October, November. What I wanted to add on, one can reach also Serondela by car, and that is on the Namibian side, and it's only from late August until I would say, yeah, December, late December, depends on the rain. And it happens that some tour operators do send their guides with, and I would suggest to do it that way. I wouldn't recommend that for self drives. The reason being is it's a beautiful and spectacular drive along the floodplain, but it can be tricky if you don't know how to use a GPS, or because there's a lot of tracks, and it's really a dry floodplain. It's an immense grassland area where one can easily get lost. So I would recommend that it's done with guides, or we can organize transfers. So for those who don't want to go through borders or limit the number of borders, we can do that transfer from Katima to Serondela on the back side of the Namibian side. And then the guests from Serondela can be taken to Kasane and proceed to their destination, which could be Big Falls, or fly out from Kasane. So that is your typical situation out there at Serondela. I'm insisting on Serondela because I've realized that there was a lot of confusion on how to get to Serondela, what you know, in and out the borders. That might be a problem for many. But even if coming through Kasane, the Kasane Impalila border issue, it's very fast. It's really a small border. There's never a queue there. It's just a quick stamping process, in and out, and that's it. So it's not like your Ngoma or your Kazangula border, where it happens in high season that people can get a bit stuck there with a bit of queues. So that doesn't have to refrain people, guests, to come on this side, because it's not a slow process. It's actually quite a smooth, quick process. And yeah, so that is one of the things that I really wanted to highlight it, because I know that a lot of tour operators are a bit worried on saying, okay, but they, you know, they already came to a border, they have to go through a border again to going to the falls. You know, they would like to limit that bureaucracy. But as I said, the fact that it's really smooth and quick, that shouldn't refrain. And mostly, it is to avoid your guests to stay in Kasane, where they will just probably stay in a lodge there all day facing a swimming pool, and just having their own 2 hours morning drive and 2 hour cruise in the afternoon, and then limiting their experience. While as you've seen here, it's a full-on all-day experience, and lion roaring at night, and all the sounds of the rivers and the hippos. It's really exciting. Yeah, so Margot, I think I said most of it, and probably I went a bit fast, but I just wanted to highlight the main things and the important things. Obviously, we all know what we had to do during these 2 years and all the COVID prevention. And I'm really proud to say that 100% of our staff at Serondela is 100%. At Nkasa is a bit less. Some of the ladies in the back didn't go for it, as we all know. There was, but let me say we are 95% all vaccinated, and that is a big plus. And hopefully we're going to get 100%. So yeah, I think from my side is all, and I want to open this for discussion because there's a lot of things that I would like to, answer and question that maybe would like to come through. Good, thanks.
Thank you, Simone. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, you can unmute yourself, and you've got Simone here, so use the opportunity now.
I don't actually have any questions. I actually think you covered it pretty well. You did an awesome presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. No, but please ask questions because it's important. The main issue that I would really like to discuss today is access. It's something very important that I feel that maybe at times we do lose bookings for that, because maybe we are the first. There is a lot of camps from Kongola south going towards Mudumu, and that they become the first choice because of easier, quickest access. Like the same happens on the Kasane side. There's a lot of lodges based in Kasane, easier, quick to get a drop there. But ultimately, I think if one has to see this area, the Zambezi region, and I insist on Zambezi region because it was Caprivi, but everywhere is changing now. It's been changed by, so I'm going to stick to Zambezi. We have to get this name as the new name because, like it or not, this is where we're going. So the Zambezi region has to be explored a bit more, and the only way to do it is to try to get to those places really a bit far down the road, but they can really still offer the best opportunities of sightings and of wilderness, of how you say, the exclusivity. I mean, this is really what it is all about. And at the end of the day, the guests leave our camp, they are so, I think, so satisfied about the fact that they've been in deep in the wilderness, and that's a big plus nowadays because we all.
Sounds like we lost Simone there for a little bit. I think, yeah, as you're saying, I think the exclusivity is in the experiences and in the remoteness of these camps and the lodges. So, yeah, Simone, are you back?
So, Margot, I suppose that would be the best way then to then sell it to the customers, right? To overcome that challenge that he's talking about, you know, the what do you call it, how you can get to them.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
You've got your other lodges that are a bit more reachable, but then obviously just sell it on that exclusivity, that raw experience, seeing that incredible nature on the way.
Absolutely.
So I think it would be an easy sell in regards to that.
Quite honestly, from my opinion, because you're 17 kilometers out of Kasane, and Serondela picnic spot, which is across the river from where Serondela Lodge is, that is basically where the other lodges who are Kasane based have to turn around because they are not allowed, because Chobe River is seen as part of the national park. So the boats have to be off the water by the time sun sets. So they can make it as far as Serondela and then they have to turn around and get back. But because Serondela is 17 Ks away from Kasane, that is your starting off point. So they can get further west down the Chobe River than anybody else can.
Wow.
And I was there about 18 months ago. And it was a little tender boat, and it was the guide, it was 2 German tourists, and it was myself. So it was the 4 of us. And we went down the river and we came upon this spot with about 250 hippos. This is, in my eyes, it was a massive pod of hippos. There were crocodiles,
Wow.
there was birds, and we were the only 4 people there. So that is the absolute magic of Serondela for me, because where you're sitting, you're on the Namibian side. So all your views from the lodge are into the national park. So for me, it is absolutely, if you've got something on the Namibian side, it is 100%, that is your first stop.
That's incredible.
Brilliant.
I'm back. Thank you, Margot. That
there
was
we go.
exactly. Sorry, yeah. No, that's exactly the point. And, I don't want to talk about other camps, but there are very exclusive and beautiful camps in the park, in the Chobe. But like it or not, their view, it's north view, looking into the Namibian floodplains. And the Namibian floodplains are not a park, they are conservancies, but they do have activities going on. There is cattle, there is other things happening there. And so their view is not as magic as the one that we have. So we really take full advantage of the fact that we are looking into the park. And that's a big thing, the big difference. Yeah. And the fact that we are an island, we also don't have that issue that I know some other camps on the Namibian side, closer to Ngoma, have, where probably they have a bit more of activity going on around them. We really are very, very exclusive down there. Yeah. Anybody else maybe like to ask something?
When can we come and visit?
Well, look, we are here. So
Yes.
I think anytime. We are really open for educational, and it's actually the best thing to do, because until you don't see and you don't experience where we are, it's easy to talk. But once you, as Margot said, I mean, I still remember that day, Margot, you came in and we had lions hunting in front of the lodge, and we saw lions from the deck while we're having a tonic. And this happens. And if you look at our rates, I mean, these are things that happen normally in lodges, in the camps in the Delta, where you pay with 3 or 4 more zeros than what you pay at Serondela. So your clients will really have something unique for good value for money. And that's another big selling point, value for money, because if you look at our rates, again, I want to repeat and emphasize on that. It's probably like staying in one of the guest houses in Kasane, which are beautiful and have a wonderful service and wonderful staff. But at the end of the day, your guests will be sitting looking at the garden the whole day and just there impatient, waiting to go out in the morning for a drive, and then back again 4 or 5 hours later. Why here it's a full-on 2 days or more, blasting experience with sounds and wildlife moving around, and it's magic. And yeah, look, I'm in love with Serondela, and that's why I stay here most of the time. I started in Nkasa Lupala, was there for many years, but the last 3 years I'm just stationed here. It's just I just love it. And besides trying to get the stuff up and running with it's a new camp, so with all the systems it takes a bit of time. But yeah, I think it's really good destination. And Jackalberry, it's such an undiscovered little gem, again, that one has to really try to. So if there's any opportunity of an education, I would say combining Jackalberry and Serondela, because this is really the same. It's a bit more pricey than Nkasa. Nkasa is a bit cheap on the rates, but nothing less, of course. It's just that it's a bit bigger. It's 10 rooms. But if you look at the exclusivity of Jackalberry, which is 4 rooms, that is again magic. And then you get at Serondela, it's only 8 rooms. And so what it's all about, it's all about your guests traveling to this area and getting the opportunity to see it in the best way possible, being really in the wild, being away from what I said. Again, it's a problem, but some of the Kwando lodges up there in Kongola, beautiful, fancy lodges, but again, they are too close to unfortunately for them, to communities, to bars and shebeens, and to light pollution. And it takes a bit away that magic that we all have when we go in these wild places. So yeah, not to talk about anybody else, but I need to say what are really our selling points. And these are the selling points. The fact that we are really exclusive and far away from the noise and from the pollution and from the kettles and people walking around and all of that, that unfortunately it's getting more and more. And it's not what people like. And on top of that, we add that sustainable part that we are really committed on, and we are active day and night. Personally, I'm the chairperson of the Namibian Wetland Route. It's the organization up here of all the lodges and operators. We are more than 25 operators and lodges, and running up and down for meeting and conservation and this and that. And that transpires because all our staff is aware, is informed of what we do, and they can chat with the guests about conservation issues and about community programs. And again, I think that's a plus that the guests nowadays want. They want to feel that their journey in Africa is not just the trip, it's not just a trip for taking pictures. It's more than that. They do have an impact on conservation. They do have an impact on communities. They know that it's traveling for good. Their presence there means that they are contributing to something locally. And I think that is something that it's a bit forgotten from us that we live here, but it's certainly something that is important for guests nowadays. Yeah. Good.
I think maybe just one final thing before we sign off, if we don't have any more questions, is just with regards to the packages, the full board packages at Jackalberry and Serondela. Simone or Suzanne? Suzanne, you're on here as well. Would you like to take that over? Suzanne? Okay. Simone, you're muted at the moment.
Oh, I'm unmuted. Sorry. No, the full board packages. Let me just take over. I think Suzanne is
she's on a call. She's just sent me a message. Yeah. Sorry.
No, basically what we have, we do offer all of our camps dinner, bed and breakfast, but at Jackalberry and Serondela, we have the full board package that does include all your activities and all your meals, and that makes it easier also for the guests when they arrive. They don't have to make that decision or thinking of spending money on additional on what they've been doing all through the trip. And it's a good value for money because we package the best activities in there. So then in the 2 nights stay, you will get your boat cruises, you will get your game drive, and especially at Serondela, we do offer the game drive in the Chome. That's maybe a worry of some of the operators that, we are on the river, you only do water-based activity and the community visit. But we do offer on checkout, and that's why we encourage to use Kasane, because on the checkout day, we get there early, we get the clients on a game drive, they can do the park, and then at 12 o'clock, they're back at immigration in Kasane, and they can proceed to Big Falls or fly out or whatever. I must say, and very frankly, all the guests that they have the feedback from, once they go, once they are here for 2 days or more on the boat experience and the boat cruises, they really prefer that to the game drive, because the fact of being on the water, and especially on the Chobe, where the wildlife is always along the river, the elephants and your hippos, the vision that you have from the boat and the angle that you have from the boat and the animal facing at you, it's a big plus. While you're on a game drive, you're always looking at the elephant bump and all of that. It's really what it is. So that's why I really encourage the boat cruise is a special thing. But for those who are hardcore and they say, no, we are the Chobe, we want to do a game drive, that we do offer in our full board. At night at Jackalberry, we also offer night drive we have a concession there, so we can do night drives, and something special that we do an exclusive night drive with our clients at Jackalberry. And that's something really great, because being a floodplain area, being a wetland area, we have your servals, your wildcats, we have all these special animals that they do move at night there. And even if you do a night drive in a Tosha, it's going to be probably with an NWR big car, and it's not the same thing. It's really special once we do it with Jackalberry. Yeah. Good. Any more questions? Somebody's saying maybe the secure parking at the conservation office. Yes, at Nkasa Lupala and Jackalberry, for those who don't have a 4x4 or don't feel like driving into the camps, they can safely park their car at the conservancy office in Sangwali, and then we pick them up, and that can be arranged. So that's not a problem. So access, transfers, and all of that all can be arranged, and it's not a problem. Like now, flood season, we do pick the guests that they don't want to cross the border. They have issues with vaccination. They don't want to go through the border for many reasons. We can pick them up west of Ngoma. It's a beautiful cruise again. So yeah, we can really solve all of that.
Simone,
Good.
Simone,
Yes.
For those transfers, have you got that in your rates? That comes obviously at an additional cost, right?
Yes. So the transfers,
So on
especially
request.
yes, the one from Katima to the various camps are on the rates, but the one from Kasana is actually included. It's free. So if you book at Serondela, either dinner, bed and breakfast, either in full board, we do pick you up with a beautiful boat cruise that comes through along all the Chobe front to the lodge, and that's irrespectively if it's done on a DBB on a full board.
Perfect.
Yeah, we do charge a fee if you want to be picked up from the Namibian side, because it's a way longer trip, and it's a bit more of a logistical issue for us. So we can accommodate that. Like now in the flood season, we do it of course, but that comes with a bit of fee just to cover the fuel cost, because it's 35 kilometers on the river, which sounds probably not too long if you consider a car, but on the river, it's a beautiful long trip, which it comes with a bit of a cost. Yeah.
Off the top of your head, can you give me that price?
The one of the boat?
Up Namibian. If you picked up
it's
on
400
the Namibian
Namibian dollar return.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah. It's even cheaper than your boat cruise, and it's a way long experience. And it's
it's return. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. It's just that we really want to make it easy for our guests to get here. I mean, the access shouldn't be a problem. We want our guests to come to the lodge and experience the lodge. So we have to make it as, like for the Kasane, we offer it. And for the one on Goma side, we have to charge at least to cover the cost. And we know now that fuel went up another $2.50 yesterday. So yeah, good luck to everyone.
Yeah.
Hi there. Sorry, I missed all of you guys. I unfortunately had an incoming call, so I couldn't respond. I feel a bit embarrassed. Thank you, Simona. Simona, just quickly, if also, I think for Charlie's sake, the transfer from Sangwali to Nkasa and to Jackalberry, there's the extra fee at Jackalberry on the DBB basis, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Go there.
While and the park fees, if you're on DBB at Jackalberry, you have to pay your park fees. While you are in full board, the park fees are included. And yeah, this is important information. But this is all very well described on our rate sheet. And then I actually have a manual, a link to a web page where you can find all our pictures, all our maps, all what I shared now, the presentation, everything is going to be there, images and videos that you can use trying to sell the properties. And I think Margot will share that with all of you later.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
so anyone who wants the video of today's meeting and those for the people whose offices I've been in to see, I've already shared those with you. But if anyone wants those links, please just pop me a mail and I'll send those links through to you. I'll put my email address in the chat so you know how to get hold of me.
Yeah.
There's something else I want to add, Simona. It's a subject that we were discussing some time ago about the clients coming through to Serondela through Kasane, about the option of getting the border crossing forms completed and sent through to you to try and speed up the process. Is that something you guys are still keen to do? I don't know from the operator's side if that is something that they can actually organize.
Absolutely. If we get the information, look, Suzanne, let me be honest, the biggest problem that we always have is to get enough information about our clients, their dietary requirements, where they come from, how are they how are they driving, and it's a big always problem for us. That's a crucial information that they allow us to plan way ahead. So if we can get everybody knows how these forms are at the airport, the one that we get when we get in and out of Namibia. If we can get just that passport copy for that matter, and then we can fill them up for the guests, and that's just going to help another 5 minutes time saving, because that's something that we have to do when they come in.
From the operator side, is that passport information any issue in terms of the privacy laws? I'm asking now to the operators.
I think if I can respond there, no one is responding. I can say it should be a minimum requirement for us in hospitality to have a copy of a passport upon arrival. Actually, it should be a minimum requirement that nobody enforces, but we need that document. So I'm not just trying to make it difficult. I know that especially the consultants are all busy and there's a lot of things to follow. But if that becomes a normal practice where, upon your booking, you just send your ID or your passport copy, and then we also receive a copy. We can really, this is for Serondela, not for the other camps, for Serondela, because we have a border crossing. For the other camps, I'm not going to stress much.
Yeah, sorry, I was actually struggling to unmute myself. I totally agree with you, Simone. Those are the things that we need to obviously share with our suppliers. So no, there's no issue for us with that.
If I may add, from a reservations point of view, we struggle immensely to get things like information details, a contact number for the client, dietary requirements, and medical issues. Medical issues is normally given. Dietary requirements, we have issues, especially for camps like Jackalberry, where if someone is vegan or glucose intolerant. I mean, Simone, you've had those things come through. And the consultants get extremely frustrated with us when we ask for that information. I don't know if there's a way that we can make it more pleasant, because the problem is we are a link between you and the lodge. We process their admin, and they expect us to provide as much information as possible, especially in terms of arrival details, because if the clients are late, where can we get hold of them? Yes, they can phone the operator, but if we have a contact number for them, the lodge can just phone them directly if they're lost, if there's directions, or, it just makes the whole process so much easier than going through a channel of 3 or 4 people to get the information to the lodge.
Suzanne, I totally agree with you. Being part of Gondwana Collection and having our own lodges, that's part of, that's something that's essential for our reservations department to focus on as well. So I hope and I believe that information is always given through as best as possible, because those are requirements that we need from our side as well.
Cool.
Yeah, and ultimately, so Suzanne, it just makes a better stay for your guests. If we have information, if we know, their needs, it just makes our staff readiness much better, and then the service is much better, and then the whole experience is better. It just really helps, and we are always the last one down the chain, and we get the last info. We are ultimately the one to serve the guests, but we get the least information, and that's wrong at times. Yeah.
Okay, we've had a question here from Tonateni. Do you offer private vehicles?
We do offer private vehicles, yes, and private boat cruises, yes, at all of our camps. Yeah, maybe it's also time to say we had some issues in the past with we had issues with some, like every lodge has. Sometimes we had issues with vehicles, the vehicles break down. So it happened in the past that maybe we couldn't offer that. That's just I think every day's lodge life, where things happen, and being so remote, at times we need parts to get in, and mechanic to get in from Katima, if not from Windhoek. So but we do offer that, and at 99% of the time we are ready for that. But it can happen that maybe we don't have the vehicle at the time, or all the vehicles are busy. So in that case, we cannot offer that. So that's why it's always good to, if somebody you think might need that private treatment, we need to know ahead. And of course, there is a surcharge for the private handling of guests. Yeah. Maybe Margot, before we close, and 8 minutes, it's important to recognize that in the past, we might have had some problems of some of the camps. We are not perfect, and that's what's today also to clear the fact that we always really appreciate the feedback from the tour operators and the consultants when clients come back to us or come back to them and say, you know, there was an issue here, there was an issue there. It does happen, and we that's my commitment, and really trying to make sure that whenever we get a feedback, we try to solve and get on top of it. So there might have been some issues in the past with some of the camps or some of the guest experience. Absolutely, they're on top of it and trying to make it better for the next time. So please, if you get any feedback, it just helps us to do better and get it into me or to Susanna, to Margot, and then a lot of people don't come back. They just get issues, or clients even they don't report if something happens. But it's important that we know, because it's just going to help us to do better. Yeah. Good.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions for Simone? Right.
No.
Cool.
Thank you, Charlie. You've been so active.
It's a pleasure. That was really a cool presentation. I know when we were still Cardboard Box, our consultants used to book quite often at Jackalberry, and they love your properties. So we will definitely continue and would love to continue booking your other properties as well. You've got a wonderful collection.
Thank you so much. But as I said, we are open for educational, so make time, or let's see what we can arrange with Margot. We organize a big bus with a lot of booze, and we come up to the Caprivi region. Why not? Let's see.
I'm in. Thanks, Simone and Susanna.
Good.
I really appreciate it.
No, I must thank you all, everybody that was here today. Thank you so much for the time. I know we are all busy. That's great stuff, that emails are coming in and requests are coming in. So thank you so much. Thank you to Margot for organizing this. And yeah, and Suzanne in the background. So really have a wonderful week ahead, and please get more bookings up here.
We will. Thanks, Margot. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Simona. And have a good
Bye.
week, everyone. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.